All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we have some Los Angeles Lakers content for you guys. We're going to talk about buyout market rumors, possible buyout market candidates. Before we get into this video, none of these dudes have actually been bought out yet, but there is speculation. There's about 8 days left for these guys to get bought out and signed. So the time is now. The Lakers got an open roster spot. Andre Drummond just got hurt. But before we get into this video, if you enjoy it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I do this every single day. I know you guys would like this content, so go check it out. The first one we're going to talk about here, hopefully you see it on the screen, is Avery Bradley. Now, he's on the Houston Rockets right now. It makes no sense why the Houston Rockets would want to keep him long-term, unless maybe they want to milk some value out. I definitely think that Avery Bradley and Houston come to an agreement on a buyout. I don't really know what he's doing right now. I think that the Rockets just kind of need that depth with Eric Gordon and David Nwaba hurt. John Wall misses a ton of games. So I think they're just kind of using this extra depth right now until Eric Gordon, who should be back really soon. I expect this to happen in the next couple of days here. Avery Bradley's just a solid guy. A lot of guys don't want Avery Bradley back because he gave up. They think he gave up on the Lakers in Orlando last season in the bubble. But Avery Bradley, he's young, but he's experienced at the same time. This is a veteran 3-and-D guy. He's going to come in here. He's going to really help out the team. He's not my main pick just because I still think that the Lakers should target a more offensive-minded player. But Avery Bradley is an elite defender, and he can really clamp down a lot of players. So he would be very solid for him, but we'll see what happens with the Rockets because, I mean, like I said, man, they're just, as of right now, there's nothing. So next up, we're going to talk about Otto Porter Jr. I still think this happens because, I don't know, man. It doesn't really make sense for him to be on Orlando right now unless Orlando, for some reason, wants him long-term. He's on an expiring contract. They have Jonathan Isaac there at small forward who's injured right now. So I don't think that he plays the remainder of the season in Orlando because it doesn't really make sense for them to have him. I mean, at the end of the day, he is going to help them win games. I know they don't want to win games, so Otto Porter Jr. averages about 10 points per game, about 5.5 rebounds per game. He's a very, very solid 3-and-D player. This is more of a guy I would like on the Lakers squad because he's not – I'm not saying anything wrong about Avery Bradley offensively, but Otto Porter just much more – his offensive game plan is just – it's a little bit more crafted. So I like him. He can shoot the three. He can knock down an open shot. He's not, great offensively, but he can definitely hold his own, and that's something the Lakers need. His three-point shooting is something the Lakers definitely need. And then, obviously, this man can clamp. So, when healthy, Otto Porter Jr. is definitely a great option for this team. That's his issue. He hasn't really been healthy. So, if he can figure that out, which I think the Lakers would be the best move because he comes on here, he plays 15, 20 minutes a night. I don't think an injury issue comes back up for Otto Porter Jr. So that's why I think the Lakers are actually a really solid team because he's not asked to play 30, 35 minutes a night here like they may have him do. Not 35 minutes a night in Orlando, but I wouldn't be surprised if he pokes around 30 minutes a night. It's a contract year, so he does want to play better. But this is a guy who'll come in here, he'll buy into the system, he'll buy into the culture. He definitely wants a ring. He definitely wants another shot. And being in LA definitely gives him the opportunity to have a better shot with all the extra eyes on him. So if he were to get bought out, Lakers, New York, Utah, but I think the Lakers, any of these guys would pretty easily be convinced just considering, I mean, especially that they got Andre Drummond, but you got Anthony Davis, LeBron James. You're the defending champions. I mean, that kind of speaks for itself. So next up, we'll talk about Wayne Ellington. The prediction is he finishes the season out in Detroit. I could see this happening. Teams were asking for a second-round pick for Wayne Ellington at the trade deadline, and no one took that. So he's shooting 42% from three. Wayne Ellington is a little bit more my speed as far as who I want the Lakers to get. I like Otto Porter Jr., but like I said, man, they have the number one ranked defense. That doesn't look like it's going to be changing with Andre Drummond joining the team. Middle of the pack, shooting the ball from deep. So I think three-point shooting is definitely what the Lakers should target rather than a defensive-minded player. Wayne Ellington at 42% from three. That's super solid. He's a little old, 33, which is great because he's a veteran. He's experienced, and he's another guy. All these buyout market guys, they're going to come into the team. They're going to buy into the system, and they're going to buy into the culture because they want to win a championship at the end of the day. So Wayne Ellington would be very solid for us. I like it a lot. His stats aren't, anything eye-opening, but we're not talking more. Any of these guys, we're not talking anything more than absolutely max 25 minutes a night. Probably that would have to have some injuries with the guys. Like, we wouldn't be at full strength if one of these guys is getting 25 minutes. So 15 minutes, 20 minutes a night, if that is what you're looking at. This is just extra depth, extra value to have on your team. Wayne Ellington definitely fills that role. Lastly, we're going to talk about Hassan Whiteside. I don't think Hassan Whiteside will get bought out because he's on a veteran's minimum in Sacramento, and to me, that just isn't enough reason to buy him out. So unless Hassan Whiteside says, hey, I want out of here, which he very likely can, because this dude is only he's averaging less than 15 minutes per game this season. He's behind Bagley. He's behind Holmes. He's deep there in the rotation. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hassan Whiteside came out and said, hey, can you trade me? Statistically, nothing crazy this season. I mean, we're talking like 8 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, throwing a block and a half per game. But we all know what Hassan Whiteside can do. He's put up crazy numbers. He's put up 18 and 12 on a season before. He's put up 3.7 blocks in a season before. But defensive, it's not really there. I feel like he lacks a lot of effort. He's got a bunch of issues to work out on the defensive end with effort, but that's what happens when you come to LA with LeBron James. You want to be on your best behavior. You don't want to fuck anything up. So I don't think any of these dudes come into this squad would mess anything up in the locker room. Hassan Whiteside would probably be the biggest question mark, but the way I see it is it's kind of like you got a guy who has been in the league. Hassan Whiteside's 31. I mean, he's been in the league for a while. This guy wants a ring. And he's willing to do what it takes to get a ring. But like I said, defensively, he's not the best. He's got a lot of kinks he needs to work out. I still want an offensive-minded player, preferably one who could stretch the floor. If we're going to go for a big man, I'd prefer like a Kelly Olynyk over a Hassan Whiteside. But it doesn't look like Kelly Olynyk's going to get bought out by Houston. We'll see what happens with Hassan in Sacramento. He's definitely going to have to say, hey, I want out of here if he wants to get bought out because, he's on a veteran's minimum. Not really a reason to buy him out. So that's going to be it for today. If you enjoyed, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys probably later today.